Do you read me?
Be advised, you are coming in weak and unreadable.
Say again, Com Tower. This is Pacho. Do you read me? Over.
Pacho, this is Com Tower. I read you Lima Charlie.
Com Tower. Request permission to launch and commence the field up. Over.
Stand by. Pacho, permission granted. Say again, permission granted.
Roger that. Launching podcast in 3, 2. You are now entering the field up with your host, Pacho Correa, Chief Warrant Officer 3, United States Marine Corps retired. Get some. Hurrah!
Get some. All right. Let me move my camera out of the way. I don't want to show you my coffee maker in the background. Hey, how you doing, everybody? Another Baby Friday is upon us, or Friday Night's Eve, as I also like to call them, is here, and the week is almost over. So happy early Father's Day to all you awesome dads out there here in America and wherever else you're listening to me as well. We have a pretty good show. We're going to talk a little bit of trash about movies and such. But before we get started, this show is brought to you by the folks of Primerica. Have you heard of the rule of 72? Well, if you haven't, these are things that they don't teach you in school. What the rule of 72 is that 72 is a constant number, and then you would divide it by whatever rate of interest your bank is giving you by your money sitting in a savings account, which pretty much the average going rate is 0.001%. But let's just say that they were giving you a whole 1%. It would literally, if you divide 72 into 1, it would give you 72. That means that it would take 72 years for your money to sit at the bank and for your money to double. So I don't know about anybody here, but I would love to live another 72 years, but I don't have that. I mean, that would be 122 years here by the time it's all said and done. So obviously, the lower the higher the interest rate, the lower the time frame. So just at between 8 to 12%, it would take your money 6 years to double. So I don't know about you, but that's a pretty good number. So give the folks at Primerica a call. It's right there on the show bio. Ask them the question, and they can show you how it is that your money grows. Because the bottom line is that I have control right now, and not you. I don't know about anybody here, but I'd rather have control and have my money work for me instead of the money working for the bank. This show is also brought to you by Castle Global Services. At Castle Global Services, they have an array of many different services for your home and residential. So if you have a business, they have a great product that it's called Sphere. Sphere is a way of taking in credit cards. So if you're one of those people that have a side business that you do something on the weekends and you're making more than $500 a month, taking in income, and you currently have a credit card provider, like something that's kind of square-ish that you go through your phone. The rates on those things are very, very high, but with Sphere, they're very competitive. It's just go ahead and follow the show link bio right there at castleglobalservices.acnido.com and go to the Sphere option. And somebody will contact you, and they have a great product right now through Sphere that, hey, if they can't beat your current rates, they'll give you a $250 gift card to Amazon or cash or whatever. I mean, if they don't beat your rates, I mean, you got $250 out of it. So I don't know, give them a call. And the show is also now being sponsored by the VA. So here's an awesome message from the VA.
Hi, I'm Mike Richmond of the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs with this message for veterans. Are you seeking to honor those who have served and sacrificed for their country? Visit the Veterans Legacy Memorial. This digital platform, run by VA's National Cemetery Administration, is dedicated to the memory of nearly 4.5 million veterans interred at VA's national cemeteries, VA's grant-funded tribal, state, and territory cemeteries, and 2 U.S. National Park Service cemeteries. The memorial's interactive features allow people to remember veterans by posting tributes and comments, uploading images, and sharing a veteran's military timeline, achievements, biographical information, historical documents, and more. Over 45,000 submissions have been made to the existing profile pages since the site was launched. That's the Veterans Legacy Memorial. I'm Mike Richmond.
Thanks, Mike Richmond. Yeah, it's a pretty cool thing that to have, one as those type of benefits as a service member. So go ahead and go to the VA website, get more information out, because mine is one. Uh, right now is the time, and I keep saying this every show. Right now is the time to put in to these death benefits. I mean, those could be very quickly on the family, so it may provide some in regard cost to your families as well. So give them a call. Last but not least, this show we wouldn't be here and would not be here in the interweb if we didn't have if we didn't support and have the great American Constitution. So I supported the Constitution. I still do. I fought for it in every time and place, as you can say, for over 21 years. So we're freedom of speech, the right to bear arms, and all that stuff. So what does that mean is that, hey, if you like this show, like, subscribe, and follow. Go ahead and share us with your friends. Let somebody know, because we do pass some good gouge up in here. And if you don't, then that's fine. That's your right as well. Go ahead and swipe left. Check something out from situator.com. They got a bunch of good stuff on there. So like Combat Bet Vision, I podcast that, Todd the Bow Show, and a bunch of other cool stuff on there. So all right, well, that's it. We got pretty much done with all the all the logistics and sponsors and such. So now let's get down to the nitty gritty. So as I love a good war movie, especially I guess you could say as we get older, we like older stuff. Now, when I was younger, I knew who John Wayne was. I love John Wayne, obviously the Duke, but if you watch movies like some of the great movies like The Dirty Dozen, Wild Geese of War, which is I remember seeing that one as a kid when I was growing up in Colombia, and I freaking fell in love. What a great cast. Obviously, I saw a movie in the late 70s, early 30s. Obviously, it was beyond when the movie was first released, but nonetheless, great movie. Anyways, but those movies are all great and dandy, but watching a military movie with a service member is for a civilian, I think, is the worst. Is the worst thing, because we just nitpick the shit out, especially even more recent movies, or as I guess within the last 10, 15 years. We nitpick at the shit out of these movies just to point wrong, things that are wrong out. With the John Wayne movies and such, he gets a pass, obviously, because that's the Duke. If you see one thing that I don't know how the other services are, but I know in boot camp and stuff like that, if you were walking around with your helmet, we call it, but it's actually with your Kevlar helmet on, walking around with a chin strap off, you would have gotten berated and just obliterated by your drill instructor. Basically screaming at you, saying, who do you think you are there, recruit? You're not freaking John Wayne, blah, blah, blah. That's just something that you don't do. We're not nasty like that. Again, I'm speaking from the Marine Corps. Don't know how the Army and all the other armed services do things, especially going through boot camp. They probably go out, on liberty and sing Kumbaya songs, some gay shit like that. Whereas in the Marine Corps, you just get pretty much hazed and amazed, right? So, anyways, so we don't walk around. So things like that, we point things out. If you see somebody in a uniform, you automatically start looking at how are the ribbons placed. How if are the ribbons in the right order, in their medals and whatever. A lot of times one of the things that you see all the time is that they'll have really long hair, and they're wearing their uniform. Even if it's a Marine, they'll have really long hair, stuff like that. We're like, oh hell no, that shit doesn't happen. I know the beard thing, especially if they're wearing civilian clothes, they'll have like a like beard like I have right now. I know this because I know there are Marines and service members who, when they go home on liberty and whatever, they just lose their fucking minds and they become all nasty, and they get they grow their whatever. Which my personal opinion is just, you're Marine 24/7, and that's kind of it was embedded in me. I was that guy that would correct out, somebody who was nasty at the PX, and I would just, unfuck him for lack of better words. But whatever. So, I was watching the movie. By the way, I was watching the movie The Marine the other day. Actually, I just saw just a little bit of it, and I was just watching. And shout out, nothing against John Cena is the man. And by the way, thank you, John Cena, because if anybody here wants to watch the special features on the movie The Marine, you might see yours truly come out on it, especially because they held the red carpet. That movie was actually released at Camp Pendleton when they did the red carpet release and everything. So John Cena was there. This is when he was still part of the WWE. So Triple H was there. The girl, I think it's Kelly Brox, I think this is his co-star in this movie. She was there. She was the wife in the TV show Nip Tuck back in the day. So she was there. I got to meet her. I got to shake John Cena's hand. So just a really quick story before we start talking shit about the movie. But so I was a recruiter, and back then, this is in 06 timeframe, and we recruiters back then, we the internet was was available and whatever, but we didn't have laptops still at the office because they just didn't want us to have or internet in the office. So anyways, a fax came through. For those of you who know what a fucking fax is, a fax came through. Hey, John Cena is gonna be releasing a movie this afternoon. Blah blah. Camp Pendleton, and I was the first. I was like, shit. So my way there, I called my kid's mom at the time. Hey, I'm picking up the kids from school. We're gonna go see John Cena. Blah blah blah. Anyways, I got him out of school early. Yes, I'm an awesome parent like that. Very responsible. Got him out early so we could go see John Cena. And I was in my recruiter outfit, and I went with another fellow recruiter. And we were taking, we had this before camera phones and stuff. But I was taking photos with my digital camera. And John Cena, he got out of a Humvee that was super shiny. Now, as a Moto T guy, basically they made this fucking Humvee super shiny. They got what they did is brake fluid, and they wrote, because the Humvee is not supposed to be that shiny for first of all, but they cleaned this motherfucker up just for John Cena and his co-star. So anyways, John Cena gets out, and he's shaking his hands, and it's right there at the base theater. And I remember this like yesterday. I got a captain and a fucking major. I don't know. I did a Heisman. I was a staff sergeant. I was like, Heisman, and I was like, John, what's up, man? How about a photo for the recruiting effort? And John Cena looks at me. He goes, how about it, bro? And we take a selfie. I grab my camera and I take a selfie. And I got this big smile. I'll post the photo here after the show. I'll put it on there. But basically, I put this captain and they looked at me like I was growing a dick out of my forehead, basically saying, like, who is this staff sergeant? But I was a recruiter, I didn't give a shit, man. I thought I was Superman wearing my recruiter outfit. And then after everybody went through, I shook hands with Triple H and all these other people from the WWE, WWF. So we went back around where the Humvee parked right there on the street. And then there was this Marine, like an MP, because we're gonna go inside and get good front row seats. And this Marine stops me and like, hey sir, you can't go, this is blah blah. And he looks at me, he's like, hey, Staff Sergeant, don't you live in my neighborhood? I'm like, yeah, man, it's me. He's like, oh, go ahead, man. So clearly we're walking, my son and daughter and I and the other Marine, we're walking on the red carpet, we're shaking hands, we're making it happen like we belong there. I'm shaking, hey, thanks for stopping by. This after the base general walked by. So we're shaking hands, shaking babies, all that good shit. So moving time forward, after the movie was released on DVD, somebody said, hey, man, did you? And I was going through officer candidate school as a warrant officer. They're like, hey, man, did you know you were in a movie? I'm like, get the fuck out of here, for real? Yeah. So basically, I'm on the special features right there, the red carpet at Camp Pendleton. So you might see this dude right over there. Anyways, so you see them on the movie The Marine, the opening scene where they have the Marines who are being held hostage, and then John Cena comes through obviously and starts kicking ass and all this other shit. First of all, that shit doesn't happen. Okay, before you go on an operation, a bunch of shit has to happen. in the back end that, you know, you got to turn in rosters. You can't leave outside the wire. And then you're going to Iraq, you know, on your own. Do you know? I mean, somebody would have caught you along the way because there's no fly zone unless you're going to do some dumb shit, which has happened, where people go across the border, you know, to Iran and Iraq and all these other countries, which is highly, you know, not recommended. But then, you know, John Cena goes in, and then after he rescues all these people, and, you know, with a helicopter, which, by the way, it's a rented Russian gunship, which that shit doesn't happen. You know, they move time forward, and he's like supposedly Cam Lejeune, and he's getting dismissed from the Marine Corps. And he's wearing, you know, his cami trousers. They're not even, I think they're just tucked in his boots, the wrong color t-shirt, which we don't, you know, we stopped wearing the brown shirts, I think is what he's wearing in the movie. No belt, which it's fucking unheard of because, you know, we always wear belts. I mean, Marines, we always wear belt, even on Liberty. So, I mean, he's just plain all fucking nasty. So that shit doesn't happen. So as we're watching the movie, when the movie was airing, people are screaming and John Cena and everybody, you know, all those VIPs are sitting up front, and just a bunch of Marines screaming, yeah, he's got no belt, you know, blah, 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 how nasty. And I'm just laughing my ass off. So, you know, things like that. And then obviously the fight scene where he's a civilian at work, you know, why is it that they always portray service members that, yes, you know, even yours truly has PTSD and all those things that I battle with, but I don't. Now, there may be people who have lost their shit at work, but those are like a dime a dozen. And, you know, that do that. Not all of us are pretty much, you know, fucked up like that, you know, we're just so gung-ho and all that stuff about movies. So that movie right there pretty much is one that, you know, I was, you know, we love picking up the things that, obviously, you know, if you watch movies like, again, I'm kind of going over some older movies. A Few Good Men, which that movie was released when I first, a few months before I came into the Marine Corps. Obviously, Tom Cruise always displays himself, you know, wearing one badge. And then in that movie, he's, you know, for those of you who haven't watched it, Tom Cruise, a lieutenant in the Navy, who's trying to investigate a crime within the Marine Corps. And Jack Nicholson is a colonel that's on court for what happened. And there's one scene where, I want the truth. First of all, I've unfortunately sat at many court, at a couple of court martials in my time frame, and it shit just doesn't happen like that. First of all, usually the person that's it, the magistrate or the judge, the one sitting on the bench is usually at a minimum a lieutenant colonel, usually a full bird colonel. Especially, and if you have a high-ranking officers, obviously you're going to have a high-ranking officer sitting at that. So it just for a lieutenant to be screaming at a colonel, I mean, that shit ain't going to happen. I mean, that lieutenant would have gotten hazed and amazed and obliterated by somebody, regardless of the person who's sitting on the defendant seat, whatever. You still got to give that individual their due respect. And a couple of ones that I sat, it was Marines that either were part of my unit or worked under me, and they went to court martial. Even they were respected as such. When in these court proceedings, and obviously it would be, especially if they were the ones who were in trouble, it would be in their best interest to behave and things like that, so as not to get a higher some type of punishment. Okay, so and then obviously like the movie Top Gun. You see, I love Top Gun, and obviously the first one was even better. Obviously was even better. Moving time forward, it just things like that just don't happen. Where it's kind of like all these individuals and they're just so gung ho. First of all, if you're gonna go on a mission, on an operation like that, there's just a whole bunch of shit that goes on the back end. And then we are governed by the Geneva Convention. So our ROEs, or rules of engagements, are just insane as to when you can and cannot pull trigger on something. And because especially if you're using things like gunships, fighter jets, all that type of stuff. And I'm not a pilot, but I played once. I played one once in the Marine Corps. No, I'm just kidding. I wasn't a pilot, but I worked through and supported a lot of them in my time frame as a motor transport officer, especially when I was with the squadron at 372. So shout out to all my alumni from 372 back in the day. But yeah, there's a lot of things that go on when you're using all that type of equipment, because there are things I was like, hey, fuck, I could start an individual can start a war just like that. So when you see those type of things that happen, and the way that that they survive and eject it, and then they steal another fucking airplane. And look, again, great movie. I love that movie. I like the action, the cinematronics that was used, and the technology, fan-fucking-tastic. But in the real world, that shit just doesn't happen, people. Okay, so I just want to point that out. So, and then another great movie that that if you're not a Marine, if you haven't seen Heartbreak Ridge, a Full Metal Jacket is fantastic. For example, with Full Metal Jacket, great movie, Stanley Kubrick, one of Stanley Kubrick's greatest movies. But nonetheless, things about like punch. You got R. Lee Ermey, which may he rest in peace. Very, very well-known Marine himself. He's done a lot of great movies. The guy, a veteran representing the Marine Corps out there, Vietnam veteran at that. So, however, not in my lifetime or when I went through, even though, we used to get thrashed and all kinds of other dumb shit. I don't recall walking into a fist or anything like that of the sort, because bottom line is that, again, I'm just speaking from my experience. Some other people, when they went through, that shit might have happened. However, even though it seemed like, oh man, I'm going to get, obliterated by my drill instructor. They were very professional. There's a purpose for everything, especially in an environment like that where they're trying to put stress on you, so you can, because everything has a purpose, especially if you're going on combat. But in the movie, obviously, Gunnery Sergeant Hartman, he punched the shit out of Joker, the recruit, in that one scene, and obviously, when and then he choked him, or choke yourself, and then obviously, the guy who played, I forgot the actor's name, Vincent D'Onofrio, who was on Special Victims Unit, and what's the one, just the one for the doink doink at the end and shit, and then in the early 2000s. Anyways, they hazed this kid up to the point where he ended up pretty much, killing the drill instructor and shooting himself. But those type of things, in movies like that, I'm always leery. It's like, man, how am I gonna? So but I love watching movies like that with other service members, because we just rip the shit apart out of it, and it's just a good time. And, in the end, we laugh at it. It's good entertainment value, but I have yet to see, a really good military-made movie in the last couple of years, So, but nonetheless, I highly recommend watching The Marine for good entertainment value. John Cena is a big-time military supporter. The guy has done a lot. He visits bases and all those things. And I've met the guy, and really cool dude, really good people and such. Especially in a day and age where nowadays us military service members, or the military, is not that popular because of the times. However, I always have, if somebody does good by us service members, I like to thank them for it as well. So, but great movies, like, I highly recommend, if you haven't seen them, just for all time's sakes. Obviously, any John Wayne related movie, it's great. The Dirty Dozen it's got a great star cast of folks who have passed, but some of them are still alive. Like Clint Eastwood is in that movie. Among many others. I just can't think of them as well right now. And then familiarize yourself with Heartbreak Ridge, Full Metal Jacket, Those are some really good movies right there. That and obviously A Few Good Men is really, I think it's one of a really good movie. And not just because it's just about Marines and such, but it's a really well made, really strong cast and such. So just check this out. So that's your homework for the weekend. Anyways, everybody, that's it for today. If you got any movie suggestions or things like that we can talk about next time, and I'll put in some clips. We can definitely talk shit about it and just rip it apart, just all in good fun, So, but before I get going, if you've been struggling with depression, ruminating thoughts, just going to that dark hole, just know that the bottom line is, push up 22 push-ups a day and all those other challenges out there in support of veteran suicide are all fine and dandy, but it doesn't replace that individual. So reach out to me, send me a DM. Reach out to to TRICARE, Military One Source, the suicide hotline, because it won't replace any. All of us that stay behind, we're just asking ourselves the question, how we could have helped you get out of wherever you're at. So with that being said, everybody, I think we're going to index over here. So Daiki, Max, hoorah, get some, and I'll see you next time. Yeah, I'll catch you later, folks.